Hi, before I start, um, I don't promote drugs. I'm not an expert on them, so I don't promote drugs. I don't tell anyone to do them as it's legal in most countries. So this is not me promoting drugs or any Class A drugs. This is just me telling people my experience for education purposes only. Okay, so before I start, I'm going to tell you what happened to me on Sunday. So last Sunday, I was out with a friend, just meeting up with him after COVID. So we've not seen each other for a while. So we're just meeting up for a nice Sunday drink. And his brother-in-law meets us. And we ask him, did he have any Mandy? Because last summer we did a bit of Mandy, which I quite enjoy. His friend, he couldn't get hold of any Mandy, but he could get hold of some ecstasy tabs, and he asked if we wanted to get a bit of acid. Now, I've heard about acid, but only sort of sort of things like sounds silly, only through things like stories on YouTube and things like Family Guy when Brian tripped on acid and things like that. But I never really knew too much about it. All I knew is it just sort of made you see things. I kind of naively thought it was like mushrooms where you just hallucinate slightly, and that's all it was. So I said to him, yeah, go on then, I'll give him a try. So anyway, he met his friend. He dropped him off. So we got our tablets for our ecstasy tablets, and we got a little bit of coke, and he got these four sweets wrapped in tinfoil, and they were basically chewits, like to the Americans, like sugary candy. And I said, "What are these? These are just sweets, fruit pastels, actually, not chewits. They're fruit pastels." And apparently, he said the liquid was on these. I said, "All right, okay." And I was a little bit, really? I think we just paid a lot for some sweets, but I thought fair enough. So anyway, we was having a walk, still kind of like we had a couple of lines of coke each. So we went for a walk. We kind of buzzing off the coke, just having a nice walk. It was a nice sunny day, just to, enjoying a walk. And I said, "Oh, I'm going to give one of these tabs a try." So my friends, and the other two friends, said, "Well, gone." And so I put one in my mouth. It just tasted the normal fruit pastel of the sweet. I couldn't taste anything else. So I had it. Um, about 20 minutes in, half an hour in, I wasn't feeling it. So I was basically saying, I'm still not feeling nothing. I don't think it's working. So I took another sweet, took that out the tin foil, had another one. Um, Another 20 minutes kicks in, still can't feel nothing. And I said to my friend, I think your friend's sort of, I think he's conned us. So, so what he did is he rang him and just said to his friend, look, oh, my friend's just taken two tabs and he's not felt nothing. How long do these take to kick in? And the guy said between 40 minutes to an hour. So I said, oh, it's almost been an hour, but I'm still not feeling nothing. So stupidly, I took a third one. Because I said, right, definitely I've had, and 20 minutes later, nothing. So I said, well, it's been an hour now, and I've taken three tablets, and I felt nothing. So I just thought, yeah, these are shit. So then I go back to his house to do a bit more coke, and by then I've been walking for a good couple of hours. Um, Obviously, yeah, I've been walking for ages, and I just felt knackered. So I said to him, "Do you know what? I'm going to go home, and if I do feel something, I'll give you guys a call." So they went all right. So they went off their way, I went off my way, and I started walking. So about 5 minutes after I left them, I started to feel something. Not majorly, but I started to feel like a bit of a. It's a bit like a bit of a like a come up if you've taken Mandy or Molly or whatever. I started to feel slightly a bit like that. I started to feel a little bit tingly, nothing major, but I felt I felt a bit something, and I'm walking. I wasn't seeing anything, but just felt a little bit sort of felt a bit tingly. I was walking, and and I carried on, and then I started to feel a little bit out of it. Not majorly, just felt a little bit. Colours started to seem a little bit brighter. Things seemed to be a bit more vibrant. If you've ever seen, I don't know if people seen the, I don't have to explain it. Have you ever seen a film called Limitless, where obviously he takes that tablet and then when it kicks in, it's sort of like it goes really, all the colours just go really bright, and suddenly it's sort of like PAL vision. Suddenly it just goes in like widescreen. Well, that's what my eyes were. It's imagine like having 4K for your eyes, and suddenly just like everything zooms out. It's kind of like a bit of PAL vision, and everything's kind of like a bubble, and all my sort of senses become really heightened. So all my hearing and smell and everything. So I felt all my senses just go, just come really heightened. So I thought to myself, well, I don't want to like trip out when I'm sort of in public on my own. So I managed just to get home. So I thought, oh, well, let me get in my home, and once I'm at home, it doesn't matter. I'm safe. I'm in my home, and if something happens, then it's fine. So I managed just more or less get into my flat. Just as soon as I get into my flat, for some reason, it hits me hard. So as soon as I get my flat, I reached to the bathroom, and forgive this, my bowels just literally went. So I sat on the toilet, and I just literally pooped pooped like crazy. Literally, my body just went. The adrenaline just hit me. But when I was in my bathroom, it's like all the colours changed. So like it was almost like I was in my bathroom, but it just seemed really different, and all the colours seemed really bright and intense. Like I shat like crazy. I literally just must have been on the toilet for half an hour, and then I got really hot, and then I just ran a cold bath because I just felt immensely hot. So I sat in the bath and literally is in the bath water, and all the bath water seemed really sort of blue and colourful, and it's kind of like, have you ever seen like when it's been raining and you look in a puddle and there's oil in the puddle, and it's like a sort of a rainbow kind of colour? Well, that's what my bath water looked like. It was just like loads of different colours, and as I was splashing it, I could just see like an afterglow effect, and the water was just like really slow, and everything was in really slow motion. But like all my senses went an overload, and I started to really panic because I wasn't prepared for how intense. It's like a separate overload. I wasn't prepared for how intense this was. This is because I took so many tabs, which I shouldn't have taken so many, but I wasn't. My senses were just overloaded all at once. So then my flat, my home, and my apartment completely changed. And I remember going into the computer room where I'm sat in now, in my computer room now, and like my screensaver was on, and obviously when your screensaver on, it has your windows locked, and like I could see my clock. I couldn't see the time, but I could literally, the computer screen looked like in 3D, and like the time looked like it was a looked like it, really, I say this, but it looked like it was like a tortoise, and it didn't. I couldn't. When I was overloading it, I didn't recognize it as a clock. It looked like an animal. It looked like a tortoise. I know that sounds messed up, but it really did, and it looked really weird, and it really freaked me out. And then I completely, and I didn't know what this was at the time. I know what this happened next. It's called an ego death. Now, I didn't know what an ego death prior to this was because I didn't do my research. This is how stupid. So basically, I had an ego death, but I didn't know it was an ego death. So an ego death, basically, and I know now, is basically where you lose all sense for who you are, like your personality, who you are as a person. You lose all your memories of who you are. So that's why they call it an ego death. It can become really frightening because, like, if you lose who you are, you don't know who you are. That's really scary. It's like basically imagine having amnesia. That's basically what it is. You just lose all sense of yourself. But obviously, I wasn't prepared for this, so I didn't know this was going to happen. So naturally, when it happens, you panic and you're trying to fight it because you're trying to like latch on to a part of yourself, but you can't because this drug's overwhelming. So I lost all sense of who I was. I didn't who I was. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know I was me. I didn't know I was at home. I didn't know that I'd taken anything. I just lost all sense of myself, which doesn't sound a lot when you're describing it, but when you're going through it, it is scary as hell because it was horrible. So I started to lose all sense of who I was. Then all my vision went, and I basically, it was like I was stuck in a dream. And then I went in this dreamlike state where I hallucinated, and I didn't know my brain couldn't comprehend anything. So it can become sight, sound, vision. I didn't know who I was, where I was. I couldn't remember a thing. I was just trapped in my own mind, and I kind of went like into like hell, or I wouldn't say hell, but it was almost like I went into like a limbo state. So every time I tried to latch onto something, so like I'm me. So first I tried to latch onto like I'm Dell, and I couldn't remember my name's Dell. Then I latched on to say I'm human, I'm a person, and then as soon as I tried to latch onto that I'm a person, okay, you can't remember who you are, but remember like you're a person, you're a human. And then I couldn't latch onto that I was a person. I said remember, or I attached that you're a human. Then I couldn't attach. Then my brain forgot what a human was. Then I couldn't attach that. So every time I tried to, my brain tried to grasp onto something to remain kind like of a normal state. It kept forgetting. So then I couldn't remember as human. Then I remember. Then I tried to remember like, all right, you know what? I didn't even then I couldn't remember what good was or what bad was. And then I kind of went to like I saw like red and I saw like black and white, like these two black and white symbols, and that's all I could see. So I sort of thought, oh, the black is good, the white is bad, and I went into that, and then suddenly I went into this limbo state where it was like all I can imagine is what you feel like just when you're born, when you come out your mother's womb, and you're just new to the world, and your brain hasn't taken in on any information yet. So obviously your brain it doesn't know anything. So like it's almost like I felt like I was a baby. So imagine like everything your brain has taken in from when you come out the womb to now, and imagine that just literally taken out of your brain, and you're new to the world the first time, and you're just brand new to the world, and you're just taking everything in. Well, that's what I felt like. I felt like I just like I had no memories of anything. 40 years worth of memories gone. So like I literally what it must feel like to be a baby when you just come out of the womb. That's the only way I can explain it. It was almost like I was a brand new to the world. I hadn't learned anything. I didn't know what anything was. I didn't know what colours were. I didn't know what sound was. I didn't know what speech was. I literally at one point I was brand new to the world, taking everything in. I wasn't had no concept of what colours were or what sounds was. Everything was brand new. It was almost like, in a way, being reborn, if that makes sense. And that like stage must have like, I mean, it felt like hours, but like it was only a couple of minutes, and I'll tell you why I know it was only a couple of minutes. It felt like I was in this limbo stage for hours, but then I got to that point, but I say it felt like hours, but then I had no conception of time neither. So time had no meaning for me. So I didn't know what a minute was. I didn't know what a second was. So that's why it felt like limbo, because time had no meaning because I didn't know what time was. So that was weird. Anyway, I was in that stage, and I started to like I started to come back slowly, and I was trying to like latch onto things. And I almost panicked because I thought I don't know where I am. I don't know what I am. Then I remember my phone going off and my friend calling me, and it kind of like snapped me back slightly. And my friend called me and asked me if anything happened yet. And I said to him, all I said is, come to my home quick. I've taken it and I'm really need you here. I'm really badly tripping. And like, and he was only 5 minutes away, but I continued the trip. So I remember trying to crawl into my bedroom, but my bedroom didn't seem like my bedroom because I didn't recognize it was my bedroom. Like, and I remember trying to like cling on to my bed for comfort. Anyway, like I was sat on the floor and I was just seeing all these colors and visions and stuff. And at one point, I got into the staged mindset where I thought I was God. I thought basically I'm creation, I'm just one endless loop, I'm God, I created the universe, I've created this universe, this is my universe I created, I've created myself, I'm just this, it's like God and the universe and existence is one big loop. We're just in one big cycle and we just keep going round and round and round and it's never ending. And I was in that mind state where I thought I was God and I created me as a being, but I'm all creation. I've created everything. I'm in everything. Everything is me, and it's all a loop where I'm in everything. I'm me. God. I am God. I created the universe, and the universe is one big loop. And at one stage, I can't explain this, and I can't explain this now. But at one stage, it all made sense. Like the universe, time, conception of the universe, life, death, parallel universes, time is like time didn't seem linear. Like I perceived time and the universe as one, everything become one. I know that's really freaky thing to say, but it all did. Everything just at one stage I understood it all. I understood creation. I understood what creation was about. It was really in depth. Even like all these thoughts I was having, time concept, birth, death, heaven, hell, astral realms, time travel, parallel universes, it all made sense. At one point, I understood it all. It like I was it everywhere. I was in everything. I was in every time frame. I was everywhere all at once. Like I was in every multiple universe. I was all split throughout time. I was in heaven. I was in hell. I was in the astral plane. I was all in different universes. I was scattered throughout time. I honestly felt like God. I know that's mental, but then I knew what God was, not how it's written in the Bible. I perceive it differently. That God basically is the universe. That the universe does have a nature to it. That God isn't how it's written in the Bible. God is basically is the universe, and it's spreading out. It's in the cycles, and I understood that, and I was kind of in that trance. And then my friend knocked on the door. It kind of snapped me slightly out, and I was still kind of come back to me again. That I was still slightly me, but I was still kind of like seeing stuff, but I kind of snapped back, and I kind of not fully back to myself, but I was kind of slightly back to who I was. And then I realized my mind saying like, "Your friend's here. You've been out with your friend today. You've taken something." And then my friend come in, and I remember he said, "Oh, you're right." And I said, "Look, I'm really tripping, big time." And obviously he done no research on this, so he didn't quite know what to do. So he's like, "All right, mate, let's go for a walk." And he was trying to get me to explain how I was, but when I was seeing all these things, receiving all these things, there's no way when you're in that mind state you can explain it properly. So I was just telling him all these random thoughts and visions I was having as I was having them. So, he took me out for a walk. Now, I know we went for a walk, but I can't remember where we went. I mean, I remember his brother-in-law was there, and he's saying, "What's it like?" And I just said, like, there's just no ways to describe it. I'm like, I'm seeing stuff now, even though I'm aware that I'm talking to you. I'm also aware that I'm somewhere else. I can almost explain it's like I was dreaming, yeah, but I was awake at the same time. So I was sort of like my consciousness was split between being awake, but also my conscious half of my conscious was dreaming at the same time. So I was in the dreamlike state, but I was awake. So, but when I was talking to my friend, it kept sort of like it was helping because it's saying keep talking to me, because it's reminding me you're snapping me back to reality. Because if you don't talk to me, then my mind will just wander off with these visions. So he just kept talking to me, and it kept me grounded. Basically, it kept me anchored. So it kept, when my thoughts, so instead of my visions getting me carried off my visions, and I was getting carried away with them, he was talking to me, and he said, "What do you want me to do?" And I remember him saying to me, "Look," and this is a weird thing to say. I said, "Look, you're going to have to take charge." He goes, "What do you mean take charge?" I said, "I mean, you're literally going to have to take charge of me. I mean, you know, what do you want to do?" I mean, no, I said to him, "Look, I can't make independent decisions at the moment. You're literally going to have to look after me like I'm a child, because even though I was at messed up state, I knew in the back, somewhere in the back of my mind, I knew once my friend was there and he was with me, I knew I wasn't going to come to harm. But when I was on my own, there were obviously, when I was in the flat on my own, there was nothing to ground me. There was nothing to tell me what was real and what wasn't. I knew once my friend was there, I still had enough. It's amazing. It must be a defense mechanism. It knew, my brain, even though I was in that messed up stage, it still knew enough to let my friend know, to tell my friend, basically, like, he said, "Well, what do you want to do?" And I said, "Look, you're going to have to look after me." And he didn't quite get that, which, to be fair, if I was in at the time, I wouldn't quite get. And I said, literally, I can't. I was slipping away when I said this. I goes, literally, I'm literally going to slip away, and you're literally going to just have to take care of me and take charge. And when I mean take charge, I mean like totally take charge, like you would, you know, a parent of a child. Because I said, I'm getting to that stage where I can't make decisions, and you're going to have to make sure, you know, I don't do anything stupid, because I am in no fit state to look after myself. And to be fair, he did. So we were walking around my local area. Now, I'm aware kind of where we went, but like what I was seeing and where we were two different things. So when we was walking around, all colours and people seemed different. He kept talking to me. I remember him saying that, like, keep talking to me, because my thoughts kept wandering, and I kept going into like when we was walking around, I was seeing, like, it was almost like I was seeing a different world than where we were. So it was my area, but it was almost like things looked different, kind of. So it was kind of like looking into a parallel universe. It was kind of like I was on my Earth, but I wasn't on my Earth. So I was seeing a totally different Earth. It was kind of like, I read like where parallel universes, we like there's a theory, basically. I don't know. There was just a theory I read, that there's millions of Earth. We occupy the same space, but it all vibrates at a different frequency, basically. So there's a million Earths. We're in the same space, but we all vibrate at a different frequency, and we can't see each other. But when I was in this state, it was almost like I saw a different frequency. So I was able to see a different Earth. So I saw, even though I was with my friend and I was physically on this Earth, my mind was able to perceive an alternative Earth. So even though I was walking around with him, I saw a different Earth. So because everything was different, apart from him, everything was different. It was the same area. Some things were the same. The areas were the same. It was the same area. I was in the same town, but things and buildings, even though they were in the same places, but they all slightly looked a bit different and out of place. So everything looked slightly different. So like, yeah, we're walking around, and now it seemed like we were walking around forever, but we wasn't. It must have only been 10, 15 minutes. But to me, I kept getting stuck in this time loop. And like, I was saying to him, like, you know, I was all in creation. So I said to him, like, about, I understood, and I understood the circle of life. I understood the universe. I said to him, you know, I was going through time and space. It was really weird. It was a bit like a Star Trek episode. And then I saw what I went, like, I saw what my town looked like in the past. So I was walking around, and suddenly it looked like it was in the 40s, but it was like a mirage in a sense, where like I saw like afterglow effects, where like it was old cars driving and people dressed differently. And like, I mean, at the time I was having this was really scary. It's not scary now I'm thinking about it, but when I was seeing it, it was almost like I was seeing like afterglow images. I understood what I was seeing now, but not at the time. So it was almost like, it was like I was seeing the town, what it would have looked like in the 40s. and obviously, you know, the roads looked slightly different, and it was different vehicles, but obviously it was overlapping the same time, so it was almost like there was two overlaps where I was in the present, but it was like an afterglow image overlapping on the present. So I was walking around saying, like, God, I can see the past. And he goes, what are you on about? And I said, look, I can see old cars and people dressed differently. And I was explaining to this, and I mean, he looked at me, I was mad. He was aware I was on something, but I think he was just concerned. So that, like, sort of lasted the way home. And like I said, you know, I was just seeing all these things differently. But I kept saying to him, keep talking to me, and go. I said, he goes, what do you want to say? And I said, keep talking to me, keep reminding us, taking a second. And I think every time he was talking to me, it kind of like didn't fully snap me out of it. It kept me grounded. It kept me sane. It kept me remember I'm me. You know, even I couldn't remember all my memories. I was accessing my short-term memory. Obviously, your long-term memories are stored in a different part of the brain. But I said, if you keep talking to me and reminding me, because your short-term memories is stored in a different part of the brain. I think it's the hippocampus, and obviously then you store long-term memories in the back of your brain. So I still had access to my short-term memory. So I knew enough even to say, like, just keep reminding me that I've taken something. Keep reminding we've been together today. Because I want you to talk about, just remind that we've been out drinking, that I've taken a substance. And he kept doing that. And, you know, I said, but just don't not talk to me, because if you do, like, my mind is just going to wander. So I think that's why I was seeing afterglow images, because it was keeping me grounded. My mind wasn't off wandering too much. Anyway, we managed to get into my flat. And my flat looked differently, and he kept asking me, what do you need, what do you want? And I said, look, I couldn't make independent decisions. I said, look, I can't make decisions, just get me what you think is best. So he took me into my living room, but in my living room looked different. And I looked out my window, where like my flats weren't flats there anymore. It was a totally different surrounding area there. When I looked out my window, it wasn't what I see every day. It was just totally different. I just saw fields, and um, I saw houses instead of apartments. It was really, really weird. And I said, oh, doesn't look like, and I kept saying, is this my flat? And he goes, yeah, we're in your flat, because I don't feel like we are, because I'm looking out the window and I don't know where we are. And I kept saying, no, we're in your flat. And when he kept saying that, then sort of I started to recognise my flat. Then, you know, then the surroundings started to change into my flat, and it not fully, but it did. And I kept my eye on. And he just said, I said, look, just keep me talking. And he did, and I said, what you think? And I just describing different thoughts I was having. I said, oh, I just get reality in time. And then he got me some water, and and I was explaining to him all these different images that pop in my head. And um, then I just remember feeling really nauseous, and I went to the toilet, and I was sick like you couldn't believe. I've never been sick so much, like literally just puking up chunks, like, a bit like something at The Exorcist, basically. Literally, you know, I just couldn't stop being sick. Like I said, it was for 5 minutes, but I've never been so sick so much in my life. Literally, just I puked up everything. And then when I was sick, I felt a little bit better for it. I felt okay. I feel a little bit calmer. And I was still sat on the settee, and I just said, oh, you know, I kept saying, like, just remind me who I am. Remind me that I'm Dale. Remind me that who you are. Just keep reminding me who I am, keep reminding me what we did today. So, you know, he just kept talking to me, kept saying to me, you're all right, you've taken something, you'll be fine, I'm going to look after you, nothing, no harm's going to come to you, you're just tripping, just, you know. And I was just explaining my experience. And the other experience I could get, I said to him, like, basically, all these shows and films that have been done on people on acid, like where you done The Family Guy, there's a Stewie and Brian episode where Brian takes hallucinogens, and obviously he has all this tripped. And I remember saying to my friend, like, oh, that Family Guy episode, he was like Stewie, and I was like Brian. I said, oh, that Family Guy episode, I said, whoever wrote that story must have done hallucinogenic, because now I've done it, I fully get what that episode meant. Like, I'd watched it 100 times before, and I found it funny, but I never, like, completely, you know, got that. I said, well, whoever done the episode had done the hallucinogenic, because only a person that had experienced a trip would know it. So then, like I said, you know, it completely did feel like, I did completely feel like Brian. I didn't have the same images as what he did, but I completely felt like him, where, like, you know, he felt scared, he felt afraid, he couldn't control what he was seeing, couldn't control what he's feeling. You are propelled into another world. And what's scary is when you don't have control over your own mind, your own mindset, you know, that's scary. And especially when my brain, at one point, then I got into this zone where my brain couldn't conceive anything. So I went into this bit where I couldn't conceive anything, nothing. I didn't know nothing, and it was really scary because I just couldn't see anything, or feel anything, or know anything. Like, and I didn't know how long this lasted for, but it was completely just went into this limbo stage again, where I just wasn't scared, I wasn't afraid, I just was nothing. And I felt, is this what like being dead must feel like? I don't know. There is no words to describe it. And you know, someone who's done this will kind of get what I'm on about. But like, it's hard to explain if you've not done anything. But I went into this, just went into this non-existent space, and it was kind of like, is this what limbo feels like? And it must be. It must be what limbo feels like. I mean, I went, God, is this what purgatory feels like, where you're literally, you're not in heaven, but you're not in hell? Or is this hell where you literally just don't, you're nothing? You know, I thought, is this what not existing feels like, where you know, is this what this? And I felt like, is this what death's going to feel like, where you just don't feel nothing? And it was scary in a sense. Well, scary to think about now, not at the time, but it was like, oh my God, I felt like, oh, am I dead? I felt dead. I felt, have I just died? And I thought that, if I just died, and this is what non-existence must feel like. It, you know, there is no word to describe it. Anyway, I remember, like, I don't know how long in that state I was for. I mean, it must have only been seconds, but to me, it felt like forever. It actually did, just felt like for a long time. Then when my friend snapping me out of it, he just literally put his arm on me. He was calming me down, and I just said, please don't leave me. And he said, no, I'm not going to leave you. Like I said, it's when you're in that stage and you've got someone looking after you, it means a lot, basically. And you know, he stayed, and I just felt so afraid because I just wasn't in control of my own thoughts. So like, we were just talking, and like I said, I was just coming out with these weird concepts, like I said, and then I said to him, like, I was flitting in between the dream world and real world, and I said, I get what time and space is now. So I said, oh, I get like time's not linear, and I get how we perceive time. He goes, what do you mean? Well, when I was going into these strange dream-like states, some of them felt like minutes. I said, but sometimes I said, I would tell him what I was experiencing, but I said, to you, this is like a second. But some experience in my mind felt like hours, even though it's only minutes when I was describing to him what I feel like. He was almost just like a guide in a sense. I was just telling him what I was feeling at that time. And I was saying to him, even though I know we're only talking, I said that experience experience I was describing as it was happening. He said that felt like hours to me, and he was like, "What? It's just been seconds." I said, "Yeah, but I felt like I was in that state for hours, and I was just going in these really weird dream states." So one stage, I felt like I was at my mum and dad's house, but I was in the kitchen, but it was what the kitchen looked like when I was a child, and I was walking around, and I could see my family when they were really younger in the 80s, when I was really, and I saw myself as a young child running around. It was almost like, and I was walking around a house in the past, and I said that to him because I'm at my mum and dad's house right now, but it's not like now. It's like what it was like 20 years ago, and I'm walking around, and I can see my family and myself in the past. So I was walking around my mum and dad's house. It felt like 20 years ago. My mind felt like it projected back in time 20 years ago, and I projected myself back in their house. And I was walking around there, like, it felt like for hours, and I was describing them everything, and it was like really trippy. Even though I knew physically my body was here, but my mind projected back in time to my mum and dad's house in the past. And it literally really felt like I was there. At the same time, I knew I was sat on my sofa talking to my friend, but at the same time, it was like I was split. So physically, I knew I was at home speaking to my friend and describing to him what I was going through. At the same time, I knew I was there at the same time. So I was here and in the past at the same time. So I was split. So I can't describe it. It's really strange. So I remember him experience that, but I kept time jumping. So then kind of I jumped for 20 years, and then I jumped forward a couple more years, and I was slightly older, and it was just different memory. And obviously it was memories I had as a child, obviously, but I was flitting between time. So then I remember then I jumped at one time when it was my sister's 18th birthday, and I was at their party, and it was when my sister was 18 years ago, we had a big party, obviously, when she was 18. And I remember that because I was only, at the time, I was like 14. So I remember, like, suddenly projected, and it was obviously, it was my sister's 18th birthday party, and it was a house party, and I was there watching the house party. But I was just walking around, seeing my aunties and uncles were all younger, and my sister was 18, and I saw myself I remember when I saw myself at the party as a kid, and it was incredible. It was, it was amazing, and I was describing my friend to this. I said, I could see, I've jumped to my sister's 18th birthday party. He's like, what? I goes, I'm there now, and he said, but you're here. I said, yeah, but I'm also there. And I remember walking around, and it felt like I was there for a couple of hours, even though obviously physically, you know. Then I jumped again, and I jumped to another time frame, and I jumped back again. It was just like basically I jumped back from still at my parents' house, but I jumped into the living room, and it was I saw myself come home from school. It was last day of school, and I remember saying to my mum, "Oh, that's it. That's my last day of school." And has having a conversation with my mum, and I remember this conversation even now when I was a kid. But I was seeing myself as a kid, talking to my mum, and I was like a witness to this. But I do remember having this conversation, so I know it happened. And I remember saying to my mum, "Oh, last day of school, so like this is an end of a stage of my life." And I remember witnessing that conversation. Then time jumped again, but this is like when I was younger. I did British Army basic training, and I time jumped again. Well, this time I was at my army barracks, and it was like basically when I just joined the army, and I was getting off the train at Winchester, and I time jumped on the train, and I saw myself on the train with all these people. This was would have been back in 2000 when I joined, a long time ago now, so it was 20 years ago. I was on the train, and I saw myself on the train, all suited with, in a suit and with a suitcase, and I looked really nervous, and literally it felt so real when I projected there, and I could see myself and all the train and colours. It honestly felt like I was there, and I remember the train stopping, seeing myself get off, so I followed myself, and I saw these other recruits waiting at the train station, and I saw the army corporal talk to everybody, and he was just welcoming everybody, and he was taking people's names down on the clipboard, and I saw this, and it was it was outside at Winchester, and I remember witnessing he was taking people's name, and I saw him take my name, all these, and these people who obviously I recognised 20 years ago, and I witnessed it, and then he told everyone to get on the bus, and I saw myself get on the bus, but also followed everybody, and I got onto the bus, and you could see all the people, and I saw myself really nervous chatting to somebody, and I could hear the conversation, and I said, my name is Dell, and then his name was Mark, and I was seeing this conversation I was having, and then he said, oh, where you're from? I said, I'm local, I'm Basingstoke, and he was from Newcastle, and it was eerie watching it, and yeah, I just listened to this conversation, but also I could hear all the other people talking in the background, but I was mainly just watching myself, and I was obviously saying this to my friend at home and explaining this is what I was saying, and he was just going, he was just like, wow, kept just saying, wow. And yeah, and this conversation was going on for a bit, and then I saw us get to the army gates, driving through, and I could see all this. It was like I was physically there. Sounds crazy, I know. It was almost like I was physically there. So obviously driving through the barracks, then they sort of like told everyone to get out. Then I jumped back again, but then this time I was fully back here at home, and I was still talking to my friend, and I just said, "Oh, that was fucked up," because I'm back now. I said that was weird, and I just said like I just went through like 3-4 time jumps in my history of my life, but it was like it wasn't like I was remembering it. It was almost like I said it was like I was a witness to it, like I was seeing it from an outside perspective rather than I wasn't flashbacks. It was like I was seeing it, and I was explaining to him. So like he was like saying, well, maybe like he got me a drink. And he said, well, why don't we? Then I said to him, I think I need to go in my room and turn all the lights out and just like calm down. So he said, all right. And I said, please don't go home. And he said he wasn't. So we went in my room, and we turned all the lights out, but he had his phone on. So like, and I remember once all my lights would turn out and I was sat on my bed, I felt like really, I started to feel a lot more calmer. I felt very easy. You know, I was still having all these random crazy thoughts, but it was weird. Once all the lights were off, I felt like a lot more. It was like a, you know, it was almost like a. I can't explain it. It was just like a big like. It was like a big relief, probably because all the lights were turned out and I wasn't seeing everything. You know, it was, you know, the sensory input was down. But I remember obviously he was still talking to me, yeah, but he had his phone on. But I remember his phone looked like in really 3D. Like I could see everything on his phone, even though he was like sat a bit away from me. His phone like looking 3D, and I could see all the like the color traces. But I remember I said, "Oh, your phone looks amazing. The colors look really vibrant." But his phone stood out like in 3D, like it was three-dimensional. His phone screen was. And I said, "Oh man, your phone looks in 3D." And I was quite sort of enjoying the visuals of his phone. So I was just concentrating on the visuals of his phone for a while, and I just thought that feels that looks. And I just remember it felt really cool to look at, but it felt really relaxed. And obviously, while I was looking at his phone, like, you know, my mind wasn't as wandering as much. And I was just saying to him, like, you know, this has just been a crazy sort of, you know, trip. And, you know, and he was just talking to me, and I just said to him, you know, oh, you know, and I started to sort of calm down a little bit, and I was getting more back. My personality started to come back. You know, who I was coming back. I remembering more about who I was and more of myself. So my, you know, my personality was starting to come back more, and my memories were more back. And I started to remember who I was, where I was. My home started, you know, even though I was still seeing these weird visuals, you know, like reality started to come back a little bit more. You know, I was just seeing, you know, his phone just looked really, you know, cool visually, and you know, so like, you know, reality started to kick in. Even though my, you know, even though my mind was still pondering, it wasn't as intense. It was a lot more sort of easier to handle. You know, my mind wasn't completely sort of going off the rails. You know, and we were just talking for a bit, and I was just explaining what, you know, what I wasn't, you know, I said like I wasn't prepared for this, and I kept saying to me like, you know, especially when I was explaining, at one point I felt like God in another stage. Said, you know, I said to him like, I don't know, time and space and infinity all made sense to me, and that at time as we perceive it as human being is completely different. You know, what we know and what there is, you know, we perceive things very linear when that's not what the universe is, and we have a very small, said to him when I was speaking, I said like human beings have a very small concept of what the universe is, and there is so much that we don't understand or we can't conceive. And I said to him, you know, this experience has, you know, opened my eye to a lot of possible, you know, thoughts I never even would imagine, or and I said to him, you know, I completely, you know, like when I said I felt like God, and that was weird. I said, well, I am God, and I created me, and you know, I felt at one point I was God creating the universe, and I felt I was the creator. How mental is that? And that's, you know, that's why I saying, and I said that's all these thoughts will pop into my mind. So I was able to sort of like articulate a bit more what thoughts I was having in that day, and I was just explaining to him a little bit more sort of detail, like all these random thoughts I was having, and I was just telling him before, you know, he got to the flat, you know, what happened and how intense it was and how hard it hit me, and how for like, you know, a few minutes where my brain didn't perceive nothing, and I was like, and I had an ego death, but I didn't know it was an ego death at the time until I did my research after my experience, which I should have done it before. Anyway, I was just explaining more and more, like, you know, what I felt like before he came, and he just said like how worried he was, and he just said like glad he found me, and I said I'm glad you found me, because I said to him, I dread to think, you know, what would happen. And I can understand like when people go on these trips, if they don't have someone looking after them, and if they're just on their own, I can understand why people hurt themselves, like why people jump off bridges and stuff, or because they just want this trip to end. Like if they're having a bad trip, like, and you know, you think the only way out is to kill yourself, I can understand how someone could do that, because if you're having a bad trip, yeah, you all what you want it to do is end. So I can understand how people could hurt themselves, or how people do hurt themselves. I can understand how dangerous it is if you don't have someone there sort of looking after you and keeping you grounded. So I was saying to him, like, you know, I dread to think, like, he said, what you would have done. And I said, I think I would have probably tried to call an ambulance if I could. I said, but I don't know. And I said, I'm glad you found me, because I was scared. Like I said, oh, if you didn't find me and I did call an ambulance or something really bad happened, or like my family found me in that state and they didn't know what I'd taken, and they just saw, at one stage I didn't know who I was or where I was, how scared they would be. My family all, like, they don't do drugs or anything like that. They're all like, they're all sort of clean living. They might they smoke and that, but they don't normal cigarettes, but they don't touch drugs or anything. They wouldn't have understood it. Imagine seeing, even though I'm 40, imagine seeing your, child, it doesn't matter how old you are, someone you love in that state. You don't know what they're taking and they don't know who they are and they're scared like a little child and they're a grown adult. Imagine as a parent, and you see them in hospital like that. Imagine what that does. It doesn't matter how old they are, they're still your child. Or someone you love, your partner, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your brother, your sister. They're in a state and you can't help them. That imagine what that does to them. So I just said how grateful I am that he come when he did, because that could have, I don't know what could have happened. I said, I mean, they would have put me in hospital, but that wouldn't have ended my trip. There's nothing, like I said, it's already, the chemicals already been released in your brain, so there's no good them pumping your stomach because the chemicals and everything's taken effect. So there's nothing they could have done in the hospital, but you would have felt even more. It would have been a worse experience, because you would have been in hospital and you would have been around strangers and you would have been in a place you didn't recognise. So you would have just tripped horribly. And like, obviously, imagine waking up the next day with all drips and syringes in you and your family's by your bedside all upset. Imagine shit. You're gonna have a come down the next day. Imagine how shit that's gonna be, and you've got to explain to your loved ones what you took and what happened, and explaining that, and that's gonna be with you forever. So I just said, like, I'm grateful, that he was with me. So anyway, I digress. So yeah, I just said to him how grateful I was that he looked after me, and he was just saying, like, he was worried, but he said, he's glad he found me, because he said, God knows what you could have done if you were on your own. I said, well, I've been on my own and I didn't have anyone to ground me. My thoughts would have just got carried away with me, and I wouldn't have known what was reality and what wasn't. It was only the fact my friend kept talking to me and he found me, and he just kept reminding me, of who I was, where I was, and that kind of it was kind of like my anchor to the real world, really, because even when I, even though I was saying I was time jumping, because he was talking to me and I was talking to him, it kept reminding me, like, where I physically was. So even though my mind was going off in all these different places, I still, because I had him there to talk to, it physically kept reminding me that where I was, that I took in something, that it kept me a little bit, it kept me sane, basically. It was just like a little, it was just like, someone giving you a splash of cold water just to remind you, to keep, it was, he was just there, and this is why you need to sit up. I didn't research this, but this is why you need to sit up. So yeah, I was just saying to him, like, how grateful I was, and but anyway, I was talking to him. Even though I was talking to him, I said to him, like, oh, the colours of the phone just looked amazing. So about an hour in, it got to about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I said to him, look, I'm all right now. I feel very calm and just felt relaxed, and I felt really sort of drained. So I said to him, look, I think I'm going to be all right now. I know who I am. I know where I am, even though, I'm still kind of tripping. It's not as bad now. I think, I'll be all right. So I said to him, you can go home if you want. I know I'm in bed, I'm safe. So, so he called a taxi and he got home. So I thought to myself, all I need to do is sleep. But when I closed my eyes, I just went into another fucking dream state. Like, seeing weird things. I was seeing, like, my mum and dad's upstairs landing, and it was like, I don't know, it was bare, and it was like loads of weird creatures and shadow creatures in there. And then I was just seeing all these different weird imagery, and I kept seeing different colours, and I kept seeing different creatures, and I was seeing different planets. I was traveling through space, traveling through time. I was just seeing all weird imagery and creatures and aliens and people, but it was all like, it was so much, I couldn't quite take everything in. But it was like, literally, I mean, I don't know if I was, I mean, I thought I was still awake, but I was dreaming, and like when my eyes were shut, it just made all the imagery even more intense. So literally, when I thought I sent him home, I thought, oh, I wasn't. I thought I was on a come down, but I wasn't. I was still tripping, and I've just seen all this weird imagery and flashes and colors, and like I said, I was just seeing different planets, and it was all weird. Um, so that lasted. I've seen that for a couple of hours. I mean, I don't know if I slept or not. I mean, I couldn't tell because I felt like I was awake, but I was seeing things. And then I remember like my alarm went off, and I had work next day, but luckily I worked from home. So it was like 6 o'clock in the morning. I lay there for a couple of hours, but but when it was daylight, my visuals were still was mucked up. I was still seeing weird afterglow effects. It was really messed up. So after that, I logged onto my computer, but all my computer like screen looked really fuzzy and weird effects. And I managed to do my computer work, but I really struggled. And I lied down a couple of times, but I went back to my computer, and it was just like really weird imagery, afterglow imagery. I wasn't tripping anymore, but I just saw after sort of loads of afterglow imagery, and I really struggled doing my work. I managed to do it. I still don't know what I'd done that day, and the weird visuals kind of like left me around about 3 o'clock the next day in the afternoon. So this trip lasted a good 20 hours, if not 24, for all of it to like come out. And I remember like I remember I got a couple hours sleep that night, not much, and I woke up the next day and I felt fine. I just felt really hungry. I had like a big Nand, and I treated myself to a Nando's because I couldn't be able to cook. I remember I slept a couple more hours the next night, and then and then it was and today's today, and I feel fine. Um, and obviously, I've done my research today, and I watched a lot of YouTube videos. And obviously, when I said I didn't know who I was, that was what an ego death was. And obviously, now I watched a lot of videos, it explains what I was going through. And obviously, I wish I watched all these videos before I did my trip, and I wish I only took one tab. So I think what realized why my trip was so intense because I just overloaded. I should have only just took one tab and allowed it time to kick in. I don't think my trip would have been so intense, and it wouldn't have been so sort of scary. I think also if I realized what the ego death was, and when my brain can when I started so when my brain forgot when I started to forget who I was, I think I would have been more prepared for it. I wouldn't have panicked as much, and I think some of the things I saw and felt, if I would have done my research for it, I don't think the trip would have been as bad because I know what I was going through. And I think if I got my friend to sit with me all the way through it, he would have been there to calm me down when it all hit me as well, which would have kept me grounded. So obviously, yeah, I watched a lot of YouTube videos, and a lot of people have bad experiences on it, kind of similar to what I have, and a lot of people have good experiences on it. But the main thing is you do have an ego death. So if you do take what I thought it was going to be like a recreation drug. I thought it was going to be something like Molly or Mandy, and you just see weird visuals and feel great, or it's not like that at all. I mean, you do have a trip. It's all inside your brain. So prepared, like if you're a person that likes to begin controlling everything, in your life and everything you do, this is not for you because you have no control over anything. So if you're a bit of a control freak, or you're OCD, or you're all about being in charge and that's your personality, well then this isn't for you because this takes everything away from that, where you lose all control. So like all I say is, if I don't promote you going to take this, and I don't promote drugs, but if you do your research, like make sure you know what you've got in store for you, and make sure you're prepared. Do all your research on it. Like I said, one, make sure you get a sitter. Two, do your research. So watch other people's videos so you get an idea of what is going to happen. Not everyone's trip's going to be the same, but obviously a lot of the things that I've watched, the videos so far, and I've watched quite a few since my experience, it all kinds of go on the same sort of lines. Like everyone has the ego death, but like I said, once you know what that is, I said it's still going to be scary, but at least you prep for it. And a lot of people say, like, obviously get sitter, which obviously I was lucky enough to get my friend after I took it, but I didn't have him all the way through. So make sure you get someone who's going to sit with you and look after you. Make sure you're in your own home, or you're somewhere where you're very comfortable with. Like prep yourself for it first. Just make sure, like, when you are at home or wherever you do it, you know, you make all your surroundings as calm as possible. Like I said, but you know, but like you got to be prepared, like for some crazy thoughts, really. Um, you know, you just got to, and you just got to go with it. And when your ego death kicks in, don't try and fight. Don't try and fight it. Go with it and let it go, because the more you fight with it, the more scary it becomes. Like I said, I mean, basically, as long as someone's looking after you, you're not going to come to any harm. You can't OD or anything, but like as long as someone's sitting with you, looking after you, like nothing bad's going to happen to you. And I think if you know that in the back of your mind, you probably will enjoy the experience more, because you know somewhere deep in your subconscious, you know you won't come to harm. So yeah, just make sure you're with someone. Obviously, don't be a dickhead and take 3 tabs like I did. Just wait for the first one to kick in. You know, things like that. Like I said, be prepared. You are going to probably be sick and shit, but that's because your body just goes into like reception overload. Like I said, you know, my experience wasn't all bad. It was just very intense, and I think some of it was bad. But now I've had a chance to sort of like look back on it now, a couple of days later. I don't think it was bad. I mean, it was scary because at the time it was scary because I had no control over what because I had no idea what was going to happen. I thought it might be like mushrooms or something, like, you know, where you take Molly and you're just going to see a few visuals and you might see a few things, but yet, you know, you're going to be in control. You know, mostly when you take drugs, you get a buzz. You might see a little bit of visuals, but you are in control of your buzz, even though you're still in control. You're still aware of who you are. But this isn't it. So, like I said, if you're all about control, then this isn't for you. Like, because if your personality is based on sort of you like to control everything, and this isn't a drug for you. Like I said, do your research, watch your videos on people, watch people's experiences. I would say, like, do your research. Don't be a dick like me and not think, fuck it, or that'd be weird, I'll just take it. Thinking it's going to be like recreational drug, like like ecstasy or Molly or coke. It's not that. That's not experience that if those experiences you enjoy, that's fine. But this is not the kind of experience that it's going to give you. It's going to give you a totally, those are kind of like exterior experiences. It's really going to go inside you really go inside your own mind. It's a trip like out of this dimension, out of this world. It's like they call it a trip for a reason, and prepared. You might go somewhere where you don't want to go, and you're going to see things that are going to scare you. Also, you see good things. Like I said, I mean, now I look back on it, I can look back on it with some positive notes. Like I said, I wish I just did my research before I did it, because I think my trip would have been a lot more, insightful. But yeah, like, it's something totally different than I ever done before. Yeah, like fucking jumping through time, perceiving the universe, time jumping, like not knowing who I mean. The scariest thing was for me, I would say, when my brain can concept anything, where I didn't know who I was or what I was, and it was almost like I had no memories of anything. That was scary, and that mindset when I said I went into like non-existence, that was really scary. Um, but yeah, weird experience. Like I said, this is unedited because I didn't want to edit this or cut anything out. This is why I'm doing it live, because I just wanted to give you, this is only done a couple of days ago, but I want this as unedited. Um, like I said, I don't promote drugs or anything like that. But if you are gonna do them, you can't stop people doing them. Just make sure you educate yourself before doing something, especially with hallucinogenics. Like I say, I always just thought hallucinogenics were a bit like mushrooms, and I never really looked into them too deeply. I just thought, oh yeah, people just see some weird shit on it, but it's funny, that's it. That's what I thought it was. This isn't that. Like I said, like, the funniest thing I can get to it, it's not what I saw, but Family Guy was a bit close to it, and I did feel like, what's the thing when like you go Alice in Wonderland? Do you know what? Whoever done that did fucking LSD and acid, because you are like Alice in Wonderland. You just go down a rabbit hole and you just go completely into a different world altogether. But yeah, I mean, I was lucky. Like I said, I was lucky I didn't hurt myself and I had my friend. But I mean, I dread to think like what would have happened if I was on my own and my friend didn't come to check on me and he didn't stay with me. I mean, it could have been a very different thing that could have happened, you know. And I can see why people do hurt themselves on it, because if you're on that bad trip and you just want to end, I can see why people would just get desperate and they would hurt themselves. That sounds crazy, but I can see why people do it, because you know there's parts of it where I just wanted that trip to end. It was only because my friend was telling me, look, you've got to let it run its course. You know, you know, my friend kept saying, I'm with you. No harm's going to come to you. You just got to let it run its course. And once you take it, you're on that trip. You can't kill it. You literally do just have to let it run its course and be prepared. It's going to take a good, maybe because I took so much, but it took me a good day and a half for it to all come out of my system. But I was tripping for a good 24 hours, right? That's probably because I took so much. But be prepared. You're going to be on one massive, long, fucking, excuse my language, trip. So, and once you're in it, there's no getting out. Even if you called the ambulance and you went to hospital, all they will do is just watch you in a room. There's not much they can do. It won't stop you having the experience. There's nothing they can do apart from watch you and make sure you don't hurt yourself. There's nothing you can do. Like I said, yeah, I mean, I do feel. Do I feel changed? I do. You know, I suffer from anxiety, which I probably shouldn't have taken anyway because I do have anxiety issues, which probably made my trip worse because I have anxiety is bad enough. So that probably taking that probably made my anxiety even worse. But since taking it, right, I have to say my anxiety levels now are really low. Like I suffer from bad anxiety, but like since taking it, I don't know, my anxiety just doesn't feel there. Well, I mean, it's there slightly, but not as bad. And where in my mind, I used to like my personality, I worry about what everyone thinks and I analyze everything. But since taking it, I've not really, I don't know, my analyzation hasn't really been as strong. It's weird. I don't know if that will stay, but I've not really sort of been sort of, you know, anxious about anything since taking it. You know, I know it's only been a couple of days that may kick back in. But yeah, I mean, I do feel different from the experience. I'm not saying I can feel like I'm not a completely different person. I'm not saying it's changed my life, but it, you know, it has slightly changed me. Um, I think any experience does. Wouldn't say I'll be a new person because of it, but my anxiety levels are much lower at the moment. I don't know if they'll go again, but they are a little bit, you know, a lot lower than they was, which is weird. But like I said, maybe when, you know, maybe a couple of days time, I'll just go back to the way I was. But yeah, it was an experience. But like I said, just going to do it, research it first. So, you know, I so wished I researched it before I did it, you know, because I could have prepped myself for it. I really wished I looked into it before I took it. You know, I really wish I didn't like just take it on a whim and then not just take it, fucking take 3 tabs as well, like an idiot, thinking it's not working. You know, I really wish, you know, I did my research on it all and really looked into it. I mean, I've done my research after the fact because I wanted to sort of know what these things I was experiencing like, and I wanted to know if other, you know, if people had similar experience, and they did. A lot of the YouTubes I watched, videos I watched, people, you know, had similar experiences and saying the kind of same things I was saying. So like, you know, so yeah. But yeah, like I said, I just wish I knew what that ego, you know, now I wish I knew that I looked into the ego death because, you know, when that happened to me, and if I knew that was happening, that may have made it less scarier. But yeah, but be prepared. I think that's the one thing I would say. Be prepared for is the ego death when you do it, because you'll lose all sense of who you are. That will just go, and who you are as a person, obviously, your identity will just dissolve because you won't know who you are. That will go, and they call that an ego death. And I think that's where a lot of videos I've been watching, they say that's where a lot of people like freak out the most because, and they try to fight it because obviously they're losing all sense of themselves, and they're trying to like remember themselves. Sounds mental, but that's where they said a lot of people panic, and that's how a bad trip can happen. Where I read now, they're saying like if that when it does happen, you just got to let yourself go with it, and a lot of, you know. So yeah, but be prepared for that, and like I said, and be prepared. You might get stuck in loops as well, where you just get a repeating thought over and over again. You'll get that as well. Like I said you'll experience good things, you'll experience bad things. You know, everyone's trip may will be different. You might have a trip that's amazing and you'll be enlightened. But yeah, I can see why so many videos and books and things have been written about it. You know, I can, you know, where people, you know, can see why I can see why people do it to become more heightened. Like I said, apparently, you know, it does access that part of the brain which you don't normally have access to. But yeah, I mean, this was just my experience. And you know, it was only a couple of days ago, but I just wanted to talk about why it was fresh, why my memories were still fresh about it. I mean, even now it's been a couple of days, you know, what I was feeling is starting to fade now. I really wish that I sort of recorded everything. And you know, even though I was telling my friend it was happening, I wish we recorded me like taking it and what I was going through, so I'd have something to document. I think maybe I might do a recording of it next time. I mean, I'm not going to touch it for a long time now. Like I said, you know, I've got a few tabs left. My friend wants to try it, so I think I'm going to sit with him and just be his sitter. But you know, and I might do one in a year's time. But like, I'm still reflecting on my experience. I think that's another thing. After you do it, you're probably going to want to reflect, and you know, this recording is probably more of myself than anything, just to get my feelings and thoughts out there. I mean, if people watch this, that's nice. I'll be happy. But this is just to get it documented for me, really, and get my thoughts out there, and you know, get just why it's fresh and something to look back on. But yeah, like I said, I don't promote drugs and I don't recommend anyone doing it. All I'm going to say is if you are going to take hallucinogenic acid or LSD or whatever, just do your research on it and make sure you know what you're getting in for as well, because it's not, if you're all about the party drugs, this isn't it. It's not a party drug. It's not a festival drug. It's not something you go clubbing on. It's a journey. But like I said, it's not, it is a journey. And, I can't explain more that. You will go on a journey and you'll go the journey that you need to go on to. It might not be the journey you want to go on, but you'll go on the journey that you need to go on. And it is a journey. Can't explain it more than that. And yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, I've got to say though, my anxiety levels are a lot more lower. I do feel a bit more calmer. You also, when you do come out of it and you do feel better the next day, you actually appreciate you appreciate how good it feels to feel normal, if you know what I mean, how to get your normal mind state back as well. So you really appreciate like what it's like to feel normal again. Like if that means anything to you, you appreciate normality again. You appreciate like, oh, I'm back to being me again. You really appreciate it. Like I can't explain it, but like when you lose all sense of yourself and it's all out of your system, you go back to being yourself again. You appreciate what normality feels like again. That's another thing I remember when I completely come out of it yesterday, and it all traces out my system yesterday. And I was like, oh, I just felt like good again because like, oh, me, I just feel normal again. No weird, So you get that as well. You do feel a sense of like, oh, normality again. You appreciate how good it feels. So yeah, like I said, keep repeating myself, but yeah, like just do your research, like you said, and make sure you've got a sitter with you, but make sure it's a close friend. You don't want someone who's gonna like take the piss out of you or like not take you seriously, right, or judge you. Just when you have someone sit with you, it's someone who's you've got to be a really close friend and someone that's got your best interests at heart, and someone's just gonna like be there for you, look after you, right, and not fuck with you. So make sure when you do get someone to sit with you, it's someone you 100% trust, because that's important. Because it has to be a really close friend. And I don't mean acquaintance. I mean a really close friend that's just going to watch you. I can't say more than that. It will make you feel, because they'll make you feel when you're panicking and your mind is going off in tantrums. That person who will be there has to be important. So it has to be someone you 100% trust. Because the more trust, the closer you are to them, the more grounded you're going to feel. So I can't stipulate that more. Just make sure when you do get a sitter, it's someone you 100% completely can rely on. Well, I don't know if anyone's going to listen to this or watch this. I feel better for getting this out. Any comments if people do? Like I said, and write down in the comments bar, like, what your experience was like and how you felt. Anyway, I'm signing off. Thank you for this. Bye.